The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRCMedia, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
This week on FRCmedia News, a former mayor of Fall River is looking to get back into office. The United Way celebrates the work done by its grant recipients, and citywide farmers markets return with health and economic benefits. All this and more coming up. It's Thursday, July 13th, 2023. This is FRCmedia News. I'm Keith Tebow. The 2023 Fall River election season is taking shape as former Fall River Mayor and Bristol County District Attorney Sam Sutter this week officially launched his bid to return to the mayor's office. Mr. Sutter served as mayor for only 1 year in 2015 after successfully winning the seat following the recall of former Mayor Will Flanagan. He was defeated later that same year by now former Mayor Jaziel Correa. In a speech to supporters at South Coast Marketplace, Mr. Sutter proclaimed his public service record will translate into being a more effective mayor the second time around.
Who do you think can deliver more results for you in 2024 and 2025? Not more favors for his friends. He's done very well with that. I give him an A on favors for his friends, but I give him a failing grade on delivering results for you. Results that involve more new business, stable to lower taxes, less crime, more affordable housing, better schools, better fiscal management, and on.
Mr. Sutter used the backdrop of the shopping center to remind voters on how he worked with developers to get the plaza built.
Back in 2015, when I took over as mayor, there were 3 stores left: Kmart, Payless, and Jamie Gonsalves Hair Salon. And he was moving. And that's it. But there were 2 guys who were interested in developing this mall: Ron Golub and his partner Steve Cohen. The problem was they didn't have an anchor tenant, and they weren't making progress towards the anchor tenant that they wanted, which was Market Basket. And over the course of from the moment I took office until the deal was sealed in October, I worked as hard as a person can work to make that deal happen. And guess what? It did. Here we are, and this is the biggest economic engine in the city of Fall River over the last 20 years, in my opinion, and myself and my team made this happen.
Mr. Sutter also pointed to his work with the state to land Amazon and other companies into the industrial park, and also launching work on the Quequechan Rail Trail as evidence that he can create economic development opportunities. He also wants to use his law enforcement background to improve public safety and reduce incidents of gun violence.
What step can you tell me this mayor was doing to do anything about gun violence? I have not been able to see it, but I can tell you one, and when I release my position paper and video on gun violence, you'll see several. Here's one that I pledge to you right now. We will bring back ShotSpotter. ShotSpotter worked. ShotSpotter allowed the police to respond within 60 seconds, and the technology is only getting better. That's one of several things I'm going to do.
Mr. Sutter says he will also have a plan to improve the performance of students in the city's school district.
What are we doing about being 335 out of 351? What changes are being, you'll see the changes when I talk about it in my position paper and video on August 15th. One change I can tell you is we've got to do something about the teacher retention rate. It's significantly below other cities like Fall River, and we've got to do something about that.
Mr. Sutter says between now and the preliminary election, he will be releasing his plans for economic development, city finances, addiction, and homelessness, among other planks in his platform. Meanwhile, incumbent Mayor Paul Coogan says he's proud of the accomplishments he has made in the last 3.5 years and looks forward to defending his record to voters.
We'll probably campaign like we do every time. We just go very hard right from the get-go. We're always out and about and meeting people, and we've done this a few times. We know how a mayoral campaign works. We're going to make sure that people are accountable for what they say, just as we should be, and we're going to try to stay as positive as we can until things change, and then we'll just go in a different direction. That's what all campaigns about. You try to make sure people understand your message, and if somebody is trying to distort your message or say things that aren't accurate, then you try to clarify it any way you can, and that's how we're going to run. And we've run every time, and the people in Fall River have been very positive to me, and I don't see why that would change this time.
The third candidate in the mayor's race is 2021 candidate Michael Vandal. The preliminary election is set for September 19th. Stay with FRC Media as we provide interviews and access to the candidates and their positions as residents vote for mayor, city council, and school committee in this year's election. Bristol Community College President Dr. Laura Douglas says the U.S. Supreme Court's decision 2 weeks ago to end affirmative action admission policies at colleges and universities will negatively impact advances in making higher education more diverse.
It's disappointing. It's sad. It creates a feeling of, why do we have to take a step back at a time when we're really trying to make gains with equity? So there's a real sadness that comes with that. And I know that in higher education, we can do a really good job in trying to solve a lot of different problems. But the reality is that in states where these decisions were made earlier, we have seen declines in students of diverse backgrounds, and we've not been able to catch up to where we were before with these types of abilities with affirmative action.
Dr. Douglas says Bristol has an open enrollment process where policy is not a factor in admitting students. She adds that for some programs that are more selective during the admissions process, particularly those in the healthcare fields, the college is taking a broader approach to filling those seats.
Even before the talk about perhaps changes to affirmative action and race-based admissions, I'm just really proud of the leadership that we've had at Bristol and looking at holistic admissions. We've been piloting this in our nursing area as a way to just build better nurses. Grades are not necessarily a great indicator of someone's ability to be, let's say, a good nurse or a good medical assistant or dental hygienist. So we're doing these types of changes for all the right reasons. And now we're looking at the other health sciences programs as well that are more selective to try to use that pilot in nursing to learn how we can continue and do some of these other rollouts for holistic admissions. We're not there yet. We're still in a pilot phase, but we are learning. And I do think that this will have a really good impact on our diversity of students coming into health science programs.
Dr. Douglas says while all students will continue to feel welcomed at Bristol, the Supreme Court's decision may have an impact on other elements at the college.
This will not have a real effect on most students at Bristol Community College. However, the decision by the Supreme Court will have an impact, especially on our staffing. Whether it's our faculty or our employees, our staff, we rely on these pipelines for diversity, especially in areas that are very underrepresented. STEM, health sciences, our doctors. We've been really working hard to ensure that we have doctors and dentists and other practitioners, physical therapists that look like our population, and these are the areas that we will see some decline, and we will be taking a step back.
Massachusetts remains committed to ensuring all segments of the population can access high-quality education from K through 12 schools right through higher education. With around half of the state's students identifying as people of color, under 10% of teachers identify as such. Dr. Douglas says data shows that students who learn under teachers that look like them are more likely to succeed in school and seek higher educational opportunities.
There's a very interesting statistic that says that if a black child has had 2 teachers that look like themselves by the end of the 3rd grade, they are 30% more likely to go to college. So it is extremely important that our students see people that look like them, not just in color, but maybe with different abilities or at different ages, different life experiences. These are all very important to our students to feel these connections. It very much spurs students to think about not only doing well where they're in school, but going on to college and also thinking about having a professional career.
Dr. Douglas says over the last 5 years, the college has been successful in implementing an affirmative action plan to recruit a more diverse workforce at Bristol. The United Way of Greater Fall River capped off its 75th anniversary year on Tuesday with a celebration of the over 70 community partners that received funding from its recently completed annual fundraising campaign. United Way Executive Director Kim Smith says since its inception, the organization has raised over $85 million that was reinvested back into the region. This year, over $1 million was allocated to fund community-based programs.
Ultimately, these efforts bring us together, united in purpose. That's our new theme this year. So not only do we want you to live united, we want you to show up united, and we want you to be united in purpose when you get to wherever it is that you're going, and create a bigger impact than any of us could do alone. We mobilize the communities to close gaps. That's really where our funding, the niche of our funding is. It's unique. We identify gaps, we work to close gaps, and we work with you to make sure that happens so we can move the needle and create improvement in health, education, financial stability, and meet people where they're at with their basic needs.
United Way Board Chair Rebecca Collins says the success of the organization's fundraising is directly attributable to the generosity of those who consistently contribute to the annual campaign.
It's important for us as a United Way to make sure that we put our money technically where our mouth is. So we appreciate all of the agencies that we give money to, the fact that you guys make it important that your employees give back to either your organizations or to the United Way, because it really is just one giant circle. And as soon as as soon as somebody gets thrown off of that wheel, it screws up the whole longevity of how we do this. So it's important. I want to thank you, even if you have the Boys and Girls Club have kids doing $1 a week. Those kids start at 16 years old giving money, and it goes on forever.
The United Way is already gearing up to launch its next campaign, which is slated to kick off later in October. The city is once again working with community partners to host a series of farmers markets that combines fresh local produce with savings for those on the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP. The seasonal markets began last month and will run until October 27th. They're being held every Tuesday from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. outside St. Anne's Hospital, Wednesdays from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. at Health First Family Care Center, Thursday from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. at Sunset Hill, and Friday from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Cardinal Medeiros Tower. The market is coordinated through Mass in Motion Fall River.
There's fruits and there's vegetables, and then occasionally different communities will come out and they'll have a resource fair so you can get resources, access to community events, and produce all in one spot. People are not getting something that was trucked in or flown in. They're getting something that was picked right up the street, so it's local fresh produce, and people always say you are what you eat, so a healthy lifestyle definitely starts with what you fuel your body with. So eating the fruits and vegetables that are right there, super important to a healthy lifestyle.
The added benefit to those on SNAP is that shoppers can attend a farmer's market and purchase produce for little to no cost through the Healthy Initiatives Program, or HIP.
When you swipe your SNAP card to pay, you should have at least $1 on your SNAP card in order to access your HIP benefits. If you're a household of 1 to 2, you'll get $40. Household of 3 to 5, you get $60. And then 6+, you get $80 of the benefit. It's like an automatic reimbursement program. So when you swipe the card, it'll take the money out of SNAP and put it right back on because you're using your HIP benefit. And when you get your receipt, after you're done paying, it'll say HIP earned. And earned is the amount that you spent. So if you spent $20 on strawberries that day, it'll say HIP earned $20, and you'll still have the rest of your allotment to use for the rest of the month.
We'll have more FRC Media News right after this.
Here are some job descriptions on the latest hot jobs list from the Mass Hire Fall River Career Center. Portuguese Court Interpreter, Massachusetts Trial Court, located at 289 Rock Street, is looking for a full-time Portuguese court interpreter to serve as a certified staff interpreter for legal proceedings of non-English speaking persons involved in court matters. Job number 193-27552. Clinical Supervisor, Family Service Association, located at 151 Rock Street, is seeking a full-time clinical supervisor, responsible for providing individuals, families, and groups with the service necessary to enable them to improve their immediate situation. Job number 193-28866. Bookkeeper Financial Controller, Apollo Safety Incorporated, located at 57 Walnut Street, is looking for a full-time bookkeeper financial controller to coordinate, direct, and manage all accounting operations within the company. Job number 193-30065. Retail Stocking Associate, Burlington Department Store, located at 181 Mariano S. Bishop Boulevard, is looking for a part-time retail stocking associate. For more information, call 508-675-0829. South Coast Health System, located at 363 Highland Avenue, has an immediate need for the following full and part-time positions. Inpatient Oncology Registered Nurse, job number 193-29122. Cath Lab Manager, job number 193-28284. For more information about these and other positions, visit Mass Hire JobQuest at jobquest.dcs.eol.mass.gov or call the Mass Hire Fall River Career Center at 508-730-5000.
Welcome back. At a recent City Council meeting, the Coogan administration updated councilors on its plan to sell the Bank Street Armory. City Administrator Seth Aiken told councilors a study to repair the historic armory came in at $8 million, $10 to $12 million based on inflation today. Earlier this year, the city put out a request for proposals to sell the armory. Local developer Alan McCumber was the lone bidder of the project, looking to convert the structure into housing. Mr. Aiken says even though restoring the armory to its past glory is admirable, it would be too cost prohibitive for the city to undertake.
The position of the city is that this is a beautiful building. It would have been amazing if in 2015 we had the resources and the foresight to try to save this building and to keep it for the city to do city events. At this point, we don't feel that the cost is feasible and that the return on that investment would be there. And at this point, it's unclear as to what the purpose of the building would be. There is incredible nostalgia and history in this building, but because it does appear that the cost of rehabilitating the building would be $10 to $12 million, and because housing is needed, and because any project would work closely with the Historical Commission to make sure that the envelope, the exterior of the building would maintain largely its current personality and historical significance. The position of the city is that the sale is the better way to go. It would allow us to have a building that has residential use, is rehabilitated, is preserved in a certain way, maybe just not in exactly the way that many folks remember that building.
Councilor Linda Pereira thinks preserving the armory for community use should still be a priority.
With ARPA money, both the city ARPA money, the Bristol County ARPA money, with the preservation and the Historic Society, they're never brought to the table when things like this are discussed, and they should be. Why do we have, a Preservation Committee, Historic Commission, and never bring people to the table when we're talking about things being preserved. What other monies are out there? Are there grants out there? I'm not saying that you have to fix this building within a year or two, but if you had a plan, and you have some money now that could be used for that, but if there was a plan, we have gotten rid of so many things in Fall River that it's our history, and future generations will not have the ability, to go into the Armory. Sure, we're going to make housing. Everybody is, on the edge that we need housing now, which we do, but you can't just be turning everything into housing.
The City of Fall River will be using $2 million from the American Rescue Plan Act, or ARPA, to fund free programs for youth across the city. The For Youth initiative is aimed to provide low and middle income families in Fall River the opportunity to qualify for scholarships to take part in extracurricular activities. The activities will be offered by local small businesses and nonprofit organizations that were adversely impacted by COVID-19. The initiative was proposed by Fall River City Councilor Laura Washington, who sought an outlet for local youth who face physical and/or socioeconomic struggles through the pandemic.
We know firsthand the damage that COVID did to the young people in our community. So we wanted to take a stance and get out to the vendors who are already serving. The vendors that you see behind us have been working with young people throughout the pandemic. They have not stopped. And we wanted to get together as a team and do something and put something in place for the youth of our city. But all of the youth in our city that are in need. This is for low-income families, middle-income class families, because we know the pandemic hit every single person. And what we know is this, that community connectiveness for young people is the first line of defense in stopping mental health issues, in stopping substance abuse issues, in stopping gang violence. And here we are today as a community together saying that we are going to take a stance against this and come together as an organization to build a foundation for our young people.
Mayor Paul Coogan says the initiative will offer well-rounded and safe activities for youth.
This program funds programs that are related to boxing, dance, sports, anything we can do to get kids engaged in positive activities throughout the summer in the city. And you can see from the kids behind me, they come from ages 6 to ages 18, 20. We want them engaged and active throughout the summer. We obviously support this program 100%, and I came out here today because I'm coming in support of the Fall River City Council. It was the councilors that stood up and said, we want to make sure we designate a set amount of money to fund programs for the kids that go on throughout the summer, and it's a great thing, it's a godsend.
Applications will soon become available to interested vendors to apply for the funds through the Boys and Girls Club of Fall River, which will be administering the funds on behalf of the city. The list of participating vendors will be distributed to local families and will be made available on the city's website. We will wrap up this edition of FRC Media News right after this.
Welcome to Hot Dogs and Cool Cats. Today we have Corduroy. Corduroy is a 2 years and 3 months domestic short head. Corduroy is a pretty laid back guy. He does not do well with other cats. We would say he needs to be the only pet in the home, but he does well with people. He is laid back. He loves attention. He can be very playful when he wants to be. You know, he'd do okay with kids too, little older kids for him. He likes the pets. He's a very handsome boy. So he would love to meet you. If you'd love to meet our little Corduroy, come on down to 300 Linwood Street, and he would love to meet you.
This is Kodiak. Kodiak is a 2-year-old husky. He is a gorgeous fellow, but definitely don't let his good looks fool you. He is a full husky. He will definitely act like one. He definitely has the high energy and needs a structured home that will be able to facilitate that high energy. He can be good and sit like he is right now, but he can also bounce off the walls. So don't let his good behavior fool you. We are saying no kids with him just because of how high energy he is. He's a wonderful friend and he will make a wonderful dog for someone. We just really want you to have the space for him and be that high energy family that is going to walk him a lot and get the energy out that a husky needs. These guys are a working breed, so they really need to be worked to actually calm down and be a wonderful family member. If you're interested in Kodiak, please come on down to Forever Paws Animal Shelter. We would love to have you come meet him.
That's all for this edition of FRC Media News. Please visit our website, frmedia.org, for all the latest news and local information. FRC Media News airs Thursdays at 6 p.m. and Fridays at 5:30 p.m. For all of us at FRC Media News, have a great weekend. We'll see you next Thursday.